Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my go-to remedies for morning sickness. Before we jump into today's video, I wanted to let you guys know that season 3 of my pregnancy podcast is officially live. So if you've never listened to it before, it's called The Bristows Made a Baby. And we, as in my husband and I, have podcasted our entire pregnancy journey for each of our babies. So we have season 1 for my daughter Hayden, season 2 for my daughter Hadley, and then season 3 for this baby that I am currently cooking. We basically document everything. We share the pregnancy journey, everything that we're going through in our lives during the pregnancy, of course the birth story at the end, and then this season I'm going to be bringing on some moms to share their birth stories as well, because I am a total birth story junkie and I love listening to them really at any time, but especially when I'm pregnant. So I'm going to be sharing a bunch of those on the podcast as well. You can find it on iTunes, on Spotify, Stitcher, all the main areas that you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to find it there. So I just want to let you guys know about that because it's super exciting. But let's get into today's topic, which is the dreaded morning sickness, which should really be called all the time, 24/7, not just in the morning sickness. So if you have followed my pregnancy journeys, you know that with each one, I have been very sick in the beginning. So for me, it's not so much throwing up, although I do and have thrown up. Vomiting isn't really a huge piece of it, but I am just extremely nauseous 24/7. There is no break unless I'm asleep. So it's just relentless and it's difficult, and physically and mentally it really takes its toll. So first I just want to say, if you're watching this video because you're currently feeling like crap, which I'm guessing you probably are if you clicked on this, I just want you to know that I am sending you my strength. It is not easy. It is very, very, very difficult to be sick day in and day out and feel like you just have like a terrible, nasty hangover when you've never, enjoyed any beverages the night before for months, really, weeks on end, depending on how your situation goes. So I just want you to know that it's really hard, and it's okay to admit that it's really hard. It's okay to admit that you don't like this part of pregnancy. You don't just have to, shove down those feelings and just be grateful for it. You don't have to do that, okay? Yes, gratitude is important. I've lost a baby. I had a miscarriage at the end of one of my first trimesters, which I was very sick through. And I know what it's like, to lose a baby. And I'm so grateful for this baby that's healthy in my belly right now. And I'm so grateful for my beautiful daughters. But that doesn't necessarily take away the difficulty of being that sick. So I just want to say that, because I think a lot of the times, it's just like, well, you should just be grateful that you're having a healthy baby. And, if you're sick, that means things are going well, which isn't always true, because that was not true for me in my miscarriage. But I just wanted to say that because it's hard, and you can admit that it's hard, and you can feel that. And the one good thing, really the only good thing, is I promise you it gets better. It goes away. You will feel better. You will feel like yourself again. It's just gonna be a little while before you can get back there. So just do whatever you can to survive and get through, and I promise there are brighter days ahead. So specifically in this video, we're gonna talk about how I get through, the little things that I do to help take the edge off. And I say take the edge off because, at least in my case, in all 4 first trimesters I have experienced, I'm 16 weeks now, and I'm almost turning the corner. I'm almost completely not sick, which is very exciting. But anyway, I have never been able to find the miracle cure. I have literally researched this, you guys, to death, this topic, natural morning sickness remedies, and I have tried them all. The fancy teas from this one herb shop out in Colorado, yes, I've ordered that. It was not marijuana, it was like peach leaf tea. But I've done that. I've done all of the sea bands and the oils and literally everything you could imagine I have tried, and nothing really works, which I hate to tell you that because you're not probably wanting to hear that. But there are things you can do to take the edge off, to make it just a little bit more manageable as you trudge through this. So I have a few different like natural, simple remedies for you to try to help make yourself feel a little bit better. But I also want to say that there is the route of taking, you know, something over the counter, or you can even get like a prescription if you're super sick. So with my first pregnancy, I didn't take anything. I was stubborn, I'm very holistic, I didn't want to take anything. Second pregnancy, I was like, that was rough, not doing that again. As soon as I started to get really sick, I took Unisom and B6, which you can get over the counter, and you take them like every night before bed, and it really did help take the edge off for me. As soon as I started doing that, I stopped throwing up, and my nausea was just like a little bit more manageable. Still was there 24/7, still was tough, but it wasn't quite as bad. Now, this pregnancy was a little bit different because I'm nursing. I got pregnant when my daughter was 8 months old, and I am determined to nurse her until she's at least a year old. So I couldn't take anything, like literally, and I didn't even realize that at first. I was like, oh, as soon as I start getting sick, I'm gonna like, you know, get back on my Unisom. And then I realized, I was like, oh my God, can I take that while breastfeeding? Turns out it's not recommended. So this pregnancy was interesting because I wasn't able to rely on the over-the-counter medication that I used last time that really helped me. And like I said, I'm super holistic, but it is really tough, and there is no shame in taking something that's been used for many, many years. My midwives were always super behind it. It's generally very safe, and you know, you just gotta do what you gotta do. So don't be a, you know, stubborn like I was if you're feeling that way, with at least with my first pregnancy, because it really can be helpful. And listen, you just gotta do whatever you gotta do to get through. Okay, so over-the-counter medication or even prescription medication aside, let's talk about little things that I do. So the first one, good old-fashioned Skippy peanut butter. So I typically don't eat this peanut butter. If you've ever seen me do a food haul or what I eat in a day, we buy organic peanut butter. We buy it in bulk from Costco. The ingredients are simply peanuts and salt. I don't buy these types of peanut butters because they always have oils added. Now, there's a reason that I buy this specifically though, which I'll get into in a second, but while we're talking about ingredients, this is really important to point out. This is the Skippy Natural. It has palm oil added, which makes it like really thick, like that peanut butter we all grew up with. Naturally, peanut butter, almond butter, these types of things are more runny, the oil separates, but when you add palm oil to it, it helps keep everything like homogenized, nothing's really separating, and it makes this really thick, creamy, not runny texture. Now, you can also buy just like straight up standard peanut butter. However, it's usually, the oil used is usually partially hydrogenated oil. I avoid that completely, like completely. I do not purchase any food product that contains that because it's just terrible for your body. Years ago, my first ever nutrition video, if you guys have been around since the early days, was the skinny on peanut butter, and I went in depth on this. And it's just funny to think about that now. But anyway, so typically I don't eat this peanut butter, but I buy this peanut butter because the palm oil changes the texture and makes it thick. Because how I eat this is I literally leave it on my nightstand, and when I wake up in the middle of the night, I feel like I'm so nauseous that I'm gonna throw up. In the dark, I take a spoon and I like stick it in there, and I literally like eat the peanut butter in bed. And it really, really helps. I would even like pack this and bring this on trips in case I needed it. And I only ever ate it in the middle of the night. Of course, you could eat peanut butter throughout the day if you're feeling nauseous, but I was just always eating other foods, so it just like didn't occur to me to also eat or like try and use peanut butter. But as far as like in the middle of the night when you wake up so incredibly nauseous, you're so nauseous it wakes you up, this is my go-to, and it actually really does help. It calms the nausea down and it helps you be able to fall back asleep. It's just a really good way to get some protein in your stomach, and it's really helpful. The next thing is having hard candies on hand. I forgot to grab, I have a bag of them. I will link them down below. You can get them on Amazon. The brand is called Yum Earth, and they're like a healthier, no food dyes, more simple ingredients hard candy, and they're literally just these little candies. And I would stash these in my purse. I always had a couple in like the cup holder in our car. I had the bag at the house. If I traveled anywhere, I would bring a little baggie of them. So basically I would use these just kind of like the peanut butter if I'm not around food. Like if I'm not home and I can't like eat something, if I'm out traveling or in the car or just, you know, food isn't readily available, if I'm feeling super nauseous, I would pop one of those in my mouth. Something about sugar in your stomach, like, I don't know, it helps nausea. So I know moms swear by like Jolly Ranchers. This is just like a healthier alternative to that. And they're tasty. And this specific bag that I got, they also have like lemon ones, which I had in my last pregnancy, but I got like really sick of the lemon flavor. So it like almost backfired. So I was like, oh, I don't want those. They make me feel sick because I always eat them when I'm sick. But these, I'll link them down below. I got them on Amazon, it's just like a big bag of them, and they come with like all different flavors, and they're just these little tiny hard candies, so they're easy to take on the go, and they really help, again, to just kind of take the edge off your nausea when you're feeling like you're gonna throw up. The next thing that really was helpful to me were the Simple Mills almond flour crackers. I'm out of them right now, so I can't show them, but again, I will link those down below as well. I buy them in bulk from Costco. You can find them online. Most grocery stores carry them in like their healthier aisle. So a lot of times moms will snack on like saltines or pretzels, both of which can really help with nausea. Something about these crackers though, they're just so salty, and I think because they're made of almond flour, they've got like a little bit more protein, like they just really help take the edge off my nausea. Again, doesn't make it go away, just makes it a little bit more manageable. Something about those specific crackers. So you could do saltines or you could do pretzels, but they're just like straight carbohydrate and there's just not really much to them. They're just like refined flour. So these just have like, I don't know, they have like a little bit more to them and they're delicious. You can eat them all by themselves or like just snack on a few to help with your nausea, or I loved pairing them with cheese or hummus. Love those crackers. Okay, the next thing, sparkling water is your friend, okay? Let's not forget that. It's really so helpful. So this is my favorite brand of sparkling water. It's called Spindrift. Typically can find it at Costco in big packs. Otherwise you can find it pretty much at any grocery store. I always see it at the grocery store. I like that they use like real fruit juice to flavor the water. That's why this is my favorite. I also just like the taste of them. This is the cranberry raspberry. My other favorite is the raspberry lime. The other ones, other flavors are like so-so in my opinion. So those are my two favorites that I go for. So when you are feeling really nauseous, bubbles help your stomach. A lot of people say sip on ginger ale. Tried that my first pregnancy. One straight up ginger ale, like Canada Dry ginger ale. The ingredients are horrendous. But you can find, you know, like I remember like I found like a little pack at like Whole Foods. It was like Whole Foods brand ginger ale, and it was like sweetened with real sugar, and it was not as, you know, it was a lot more whole food based. I mean, it's soda. But anyway, I personally just don't like that. It's just too sweet for me. I don't like ginger ale, so I don't have any desire to drink it. And when you are feeling really sick, you don't want to like drink something or eat something that like doesn't sound good, right? Like that makes it even worse. So for me, sparkling water is the way to go because the bubbles really help settle my stomach. So a lot of times, like, my sickness was always the worst at night. So when I'd wake up in the morning, I always felt the best. My nausea was the least. And then like as the day would progress, especially after lunchtime, I would like really take a downhill turn. By dinner time, I was feeling terrible. By the time I got like, we got the girls down for bed, that was always like, oh my God, I just gotta get through this one last thing. I would just like flop on the couch and feel so sick. A lot of times I would go to bed super early, but a lot of times once we got the girls down and I would sit on the couch and start to relax, I would just take an ice cold can of this out of the fridge and sip on it slowly and like just let the bubbles work their magic and make me feel a little bit better. Another thing that I would do with this, and this is like taking, so that's like simple, right? Just sipping on sparkling water that you like the flavor of, that's easy. Now another thing that I would do, and this was even more helpful, this is like taking it up a notch, is I would get a big tumbler and I would fill it with a ton of ice, because anything ice cold when you're pregnant is just glorious. And I would fill it with sparkling water, and then I would pour in Ningxia Red. So this is a supplement that I take all the time anyway. It's like it's a puree. It's a goji berry puree. It's like a whole food-based supplement. And it's intensely antioxidant rich. I drink even more of this when I'm pregnant because it is just so nutrient dense and so full of antioxidants that I just, I'm like, give me all the Ningxia. But I would pour like an ounce or 2 of that over the sparkling water. It would add some sweetness. It would just make it really tasty. And also it's like a huge nutrition boost. And especially in the first trimester, my diet is like, it's not great. There's a lot of takeout. There's a lot of simple like carbohydrate foods, pizza, fries, not great. Not a whole lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit because I always crave fruit when I'm pregnant. But anyway, lots of gaps in my diet, which typically, you know, I preach eat as much real food as possible to nourish yourself as much as possible, and then supplements come next. But in this very like special time in your life where you can't really get a lot of healthy food down, it's really helpful to rely on things like this. So again, this is a whole food supplement. I am obsessed with this supplement. I don't think I'll ever be without it. And I just pour it over sparkling water and I would drink it, and it would just be ice cold and bubbly and sweet, and it would totally help ease my nausea. Pretty much anytime we had to go, I just pretty much drink it every afternoon because it always it's like a pick-me-up. There's no caffeine, but it gives me energy naturally. But anytime we'd have to like go in the car and go somewhere, I would have my candies and I would have a big old tumbler filled with Ningxia sparkling water drink to sip on because the car was always a little rough. Okay, the next remedy is another really simple one, but it did actually really help me, and that is tangerine oil, just putting a drop on your wrist and just smelling it. So I am like essential oil obsessed. We use them for all sorts of things. I'm like diffusing all the time throughout my house. We are like oil crazed here. If you've seen some of my YouTube videos, you know I have a whole Instagram where I just talk oily things all day long. I always have it linked down below. It's Clove and Arrow Essentials. So what's funny though is when I'm in my first trimester, I don't really have aversions to food smells. Like I don't really have food aversions in general, just things either sound good or they don't. But nothing I'm like repelled by. However, it's so sad because the smell of pretty much every oil I own, because my sense of smell is so much stronger, it is just so overpowering and it makes my nausea worse. So during these weeks, these couple of months where I'm super sick, I can't really use oils. And there's so many oils that can help with morning sickness and can help with nausea, just to kind of help, you know, your body feel a little bit better. And I feel like I've tried them all and I'm just like, I can't do it. Like it just doesn't help. It does not help me. So I just kind of don't use oils for, you know, those first few weeks or months until I start feeling better. But this time around, I was like, okay, tangerine, I feel like I can handle tangerine. So I tried it and it does help. Again, doesn't make it go away, but breathing it in, it's just like this fresh, sweet smell. You could also do lemon too, but I don't know, something about tangerine, it's just a little bit more mild. Lemon is like zingy in your face, pretty strong. This is just really helpful. Another thing that is free and always available, and I feel like doesn't get the praise that it should, is good old fresh air, friends. Okay, so if you're in the car and you're feeling really sick, crack the window. If you are just feeling like you're gonna throw up, walk outside or just open a window and take some deep breaths of fresh air. That always helps me feel a little bit better. Again, it's not curing your nausea, but it is going to make you feel a little bit more human, helps it be a little bit more manageable so that you can get through the next hour or minute or whatever it is that you need to get through. Okay, and then another thing to consider when you're really sick in early pregnancy, and I feel like I need to tread lightly here, but consider temporarily discontinuing an iron supplement. So the reason I say this is because iron causes GI distress, because if iron doesn't get absorbed into your body and it's just free floating in your gut, it just causes GI distress. That's a lot of times why people get really constipated when they start taking iron supplements. It's because of the GI distress from free floating iron in your intestine. So this can possibly make your nausea worse. So my prenatal, actually, I love this prenatal, Seeking Health Optimal Prenatal. I have been on this pretty much straight for years because I've either been pregnant or nursing for years now. This is actually formulated without iron. I don't typically see that because iron is really crucial during pregnancy, which is why I said I wanted to tread lightly. But he specifically formulated without iron because it can make women really sick. And you may have heard, you know, oh, my prenatal was making me so sick. Now, my prenatal was not making me sick. Like, even when I had one with iron, like on the days that I didn't take it, I still felt like crap, you know, like that was not the cause for me, but it can help. And I wanted to mention it because it's simple, possibly a simple solution. So finding a prenatal that doesn't have iron, like this one, and then as soon as you feel better, supplementing iron. Now, like I said, I want to tread lightly here because iron supplementation and just iron, you know, consuming iron in general when pregnant is so important. Your blood volume doubles. So essentially your red blood cells double. And in order for your red blood cells to carry oxygen around the body, which is one of their main functions, they need an iron. They need a molecule of iron in each individual blood cell. So that is a huge demand for iron to make all those new blood cells so that they're actually functional and do their job. So this is not something that you want to mess around with, and maybe even before you do it, like make sure when you go and get your, you know, your early prenatal labs done, check your iron before you even do that. Because if you're already low, I would not recommend even, you know, messing with this. But if you're in a fairly good position and you eat a lot of iron-rich foods, you cook on cast iron, things like that, you might be fine, you know, for a few weeks or a couple months, and then as soon as you start feeling better, introduce that iron supplement back in. And you could also just try discontinuing it. If you still don't feel any better, go ahead and take the iron again. You know, if it's not making any difference, you might as well be supplementing it if you can. So that's just something, again, to take with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that you should absolutely do it, but it is something to consider if you are in a position to do so, and it might help make you feel a little bit better. Okay, you guys, so those are my top personal remedies that have helped me the most get through these periods of my life. I hope that you guys find this helpful. I feel like the advice is always the same of like, you know, eat small frequent meals, try and stomach as much protein as possible, stay hydrated, which all of those things are true. But these are the little like secrets, if you will, that I used to help get me through outside of just like those general recommendations that you always hear. If you are currently in the trenches of morning sickness, sending you my love. You've got this, you will get through it. It is hard, okay? It feels so hard because it is so hard, but I promise it's gonna end and you're going to have a beautiful, chunky little baby at the end of all of this. And I promise you, even by like your 3rd trimester, this is going to be a distant memory, okay? Our minds are incredible with what we can conveniently forget. You will forget how hard it was until you're back in that position again, okay? You really will forget and it really will come to an end and you will feel better and you'll feel like yourself again, I promise you. Just get through this, do whatever you gotta do to survive, eat whatever you need to eat in that 1st trimester, worry about nutrition when you're, and you know, and take it seriously once you're feeling better, but you just gotta do what you can. You gotta do what you gotta do to get through. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Congrats to you if you are currently expecting. Make sure to follow along on our pregnancy podcast, The Bristows Made a Baby, if you want to hear all the details of this pregnancy journey with baby number 3. But that is all I have for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on my Instagrams at Becca Bristow, at Clovenara Essentials for all the oily details. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.